Hello everyone, it's Brian with the Cost of Crypto. Today I'm doing an episode talking about some of the crazy price swings that we've seen recently, in this case to the downside. Some prescient words if you're new to the space, and if you're a veteran, just a subtle reminder, keep on keeping on. So let's get started. Today I want to throw in just a few cents concerning where the markets are at. I realize by this point, if you've been following prices at all, you've seen how in the last week, in the last 10 days, prices have gone from a level of Bitcoin at 55,000 now back into the 30s. There was a bounce from a low of 35 up into the 40s now. Today, as of the time of this recording, on 21st of May, it's back down under 40,000. So in the last 14 days, it's down by a third. Ethereum, same thing, last 14 days, down almost by a third. I saw a video yesterday through Twitter. I'm assuming it was not something that was staged. There was a high schooler, for people outside the US, it'd be a teenager, probably 16, 17, 18, showing a video of a screenshot of where cryptos were down and how much how much the portfolio made up of money that was intended for college was down. And in this video, the boy was in absolute hysterics. And a lot of thoughts went through my head very quickly. But I think a lot of people who are probably experiencing the same thing. Oh my God, things are down 30%. If it's someone that's invested in the more traditional markets like stocks or bonds or real estate, to see this kind of price movement in such a short period of time probably is very overwhelming. And the boy's reaction would seem typical. But when you take a step back, let's look at this. Okay, yes, prices are down by 30%. But what's his time horizon? What is he looking at as far as when he needs to actually draw on these funds? New to cryptos, I also came across a chart a few days ago showing prices of Bitcoin from mid 2016 until today. During its rise from the $500 mark to the $20,000 mark, there were, in this whole journey, 6 times there were pullbacks in prices by 30% or more. And right now, from its highs around 60,000, which is circled on the page, it's down 54%, which that is a pretty precipitous fall. The other times it had falls like that was when it went to the bear market of 2018 to 2019, and during the everything flash crashed in March of 2020. So we see that these kinds of pullbacks happen. Unless that boy needed to draw on that money tomorrow, he's probably going to be fine. If he doesn't need it for another year, if he doesn't need it, given it's May, he doesn't need any of it until next year, he'll be fine. There's probably going to be a recovery and it'll be okay. One of the reasons that I feel somewhat confident in that, multiple reasons actually. If we look at the two energy vectors of Bitcoin, the first vector being the implementation and how it's actually being used. How is Bitcoin being used? How is the Bitcoin network being used? That continues to grow. I see examples everywhere. I see examples of how the security of the network through increased mining capacity. I see this kind of growth in the security of the network. I see the implementation of the Lightning Network, which is the second layer solution that you use to buy a cup of coffee with, or that you can use for microtransactions of $1, $2, 50 cents. And it doesn't take 10 minutes to have a confirmation. See the stories about how Strike Payments is enabling people in countries like El Salvador to build up their local economies without having to worry about trying to meet standards that are necessary in order to get access to traditional banking, where you need an ID, where you need a certain threshold of money, where you're subject to whatever rules and regulations they have. These networks are growing in Africa, in Asia. In developed countries, they don't have as much of an application today. But in less developed countries, less wealthy countries, these networks are absolutely becoming essential, and it's growing. And it's relying on the security of the network. It's relying on the Bitcoin network for this. And then the other energy vector, the prices, the price markets. In that market, implementation grows. More people are signing up every day, new people, for Coinbase accounts so they can start purchasing cryptocurrencies. Some of them actually taking custody of those cryptocurrencies. There are more people buying these cryptocurrencies through apps like PayPal or Robinhood or Hodl, where you don't physically own the cryptos, you can't take custody of them, but you do have a claim on them. Banks are growing with their custody services, with offering different investment packages, if you will, that allow people to take their money, Wall Street and the investment firms, and put it into cryptocurrencies to be able to take advantage of the increases in valuation that they afford. This continues to grow. Just because the price is down 54% doesn't mean the network's going to die. It doesn't mean Bitcoin's going to die. All it means is that the price, which is dictated a lot by human emotion, is down. Price markets are driven by human emotion. They're driven by factors such as greed and fear. I'm afraid of losing my money. I'm going to dump everything I have. Oh, these markets are pumping. I want to get in here, buy some coin. That's going to be the next hot thing and earn an easy buck. That's also feeding the human propensity to try and get something with the least amount of effort. But before I go on, I want to take a brief pause with a word from our sponsor. Prices are down, but they'll recover. They'll recover. Oh, the prices are going up. I've got to buy. There's a fear of missing out. A lot of this reminds me of 2017 in September. At that time, there was news that came out about the 1,000th time that China's was going to ban Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. And Jamie Dimon, the CEO of JP Morgan Chase Bank at the time, said Bitcoin is trash. And there was other negative news, and it had the effect of driving down prices 40%. And after that, that's when prices and then started going up on its big rise up to the highs of just under 20,000 in December. And it's also knowing that in November there was a 30% pullback. Recovered? And I'm seeing the same thing with this, where there's a lot of FUD, fear, uncertainty, doubt. It's a generic term basically saying news that has the intent of throwing out something negative to change sentiment. And I think we've seen that. There are people who are saying that having so much FUD, like today, again, China banning cryptocurrencies, which they're not going to ban usage of cryptocurrencies. The exchange Binance being investigated by US authorities for whatever it is, irregularities, compliance with laws. They're giving them the nod. You've got the SEC hearings with Ripple. That's going on. And there's several other things that I haven't even bothered to pay attention to. All this stuff drives down sentiment. And the weak hands, the people who don't understand the fundamentals, who don't understand the two different energies of the price of Bitcoin and the fundamentals of the network, those are the people that dump their holdings. And traders too. People who are trading said, okay, don't fight the trend. Time to cash out these positions while we're still ahead. Or let's cut our losses, which also contributes to the downturn. There are some people who only focus on the price markets, and that's perfectly fine too. That's going to happen. It happens with everything. But for the people like myself who are in this because they see that Bitcoin and its characteristics have such potential to change and shape human behaviors and incentives in such a positive way, this is just a blip on the screen. Every time the market goes down, the implementation's still going. It's still growing. So for me and for a lot of other people, they'll hold on, and they'll also be like me who sees that this is a great time to be able to dollar cost average and buy a little more Bitcoin, a little more Ethereum, and get these cryptocurrencies at a better price. When the prices are down like this, $1 will get you more of whatever that cryptocurrency is, more of it than it will yesterday when it was 50% higher. So for me, if you're using apps where you get rebates in Bitcoin, it's a great time to buy things because your rebates are going to have more units of their crypto. It's going to have more Satoshis of Bitcoin than it will yesterday. And it's a temporary thing. Prices are not indicative of the future. Where will they go? Who knows? They go up, they go down. I'm not worried. If prices were to stay at this level, fantastic. The $20 I put into it's going to give me a little bit more. So if anything, if you're worried right now, take a step back and ask yourself, first, what is my timeline? What is my need? Do I need the money that's invested in these cryptocurrencies today? Or is this something that I'm saving for 4 years, 5 years, 10 years from now? Because if you're working on the long horizon, this is a part of the experience. This is the ride you're going to be on. You're going to experience meteoric rises like in January and February and precipitous drops like the last 2 weeks. That's the journey you're going to be on. But know that if you've done your homework and you've read up on the technologies, you read up how it's being used, you read up of how it is fundamentally different and advantageous for humanity, you'll see and realize that is what is going to keep it going. That is why the adoption is going to continue to grow. And that's going to also have the spillover effects to the pricing market that it has. I think I'll wrap things up here. I think I've said enough that can be said. But know that this is not the end of the world, and this is only a temporary event. Prices will move up, prices will move down. Stick to the reasons of why you got into this in the first place. And ask yourself, what has changed? So do some deep thought, search inward, and just know that if you want to be a part of this, this is a part of the game. Well, that about wraps everything up. I hope the words that I shared with you today help you take events and put them into perspective. You can follow along with the Cost of Crypto on multiple platforms. There's Anchor FM, Breaker, Google Podcasts, Pocket Casts, Radio Public, and Spotify. You can also follow along on WordPress at tinycryptoblog.com, Facebook, YouTube, BitChute, Odyssey, Brighteon, Minds, Parler, and Twitter. And with that, be well, everyone. Talk to you soon.